Good day. I've just taken bolting lettuce out from here and given it to some chickens of a fellow plotter. The reason being, well, A, the chickens will like it, but B, I didn't want these here to go to flower and then go to seed when I have one over here that I want to save seeds from. You see this one here? I want to save seeds from this one. So though this one is also bolting, I want to save seeds from it, so I'm going to allow it to bolt, and then I will hopefully, if we have some weeks of warm weather, be able to save seed from this once the flowers have opened and been pollinated. If I'd left those in over there, they could have cross-pollinated with this one here that I want to save seed from, and yeah, we'd have ended up with a new variety that may not have been particularly nice. This one was in Morton's Secret Mix from Real Seeds and was absolutely delicious, so yeah, I want to save seeds from it. Gosh, this perennial kale has certainly grown back well, and you can see there's some really nice harvestable leaves coming, but of course I'm going to have to cover that pretty soon. Colder nights, well, we're quite mild at the moment, we're above 10 degrees, but colder nights and then colder days will mean that pigeons will be around pecking as they were last week. And I've been looking at these cheeky prints here. This is a whole bed of cheeky prints, and two have sort of coloured up, and I've traced the vines, the growing vines, back and onwards, and it's, as you can see, this is where the growth is coming from here, and then it carries on beyond, but this is dying back and is already dry at the end. And I've traced that one back as well, and that one is also drying back at the end where the plant is in the ground and the roots are in the ground, obviously, so the nutrients aren't coming up into either of these anymore. So what I'm going to do, just in case we have a unexpected frost, which is not due, I've decided to harvest these two. At the moment I'm just going to cut them on either side of the stalk to leave a sort of T-bar, because maybe, well, I will be using, I think, this, well, those two plants from those squash and maybe some others to get the hot bin going later in the week or next week maybe, and I'll be using some of these nettles and some of this comfrey here as well as a compost activator. Emptying compost bins is going to be on my agenda. Yeah, bindweed in that one, but anyway, not thinking about that today. Let me get on and harvest these. Right, so this is where the growth is coming from, but that, as you can see, is dry, so I'm just cutting it there, and then this bit is going beyond here, so I'm just cutting it there. That was a leaf that went off. Let's take that out. Clean it up a bit. You can see underneath where it's had no sun, it's quite green and pale still. I mean, it is pale anyway. Let's take that leaf off as well. Take that. Oh, my things need a sharpen, look. Oh, I'll just leave it on. Both of these have now had a wash in clean water, obviously, and I'm going to pop them into the greenhouse and they can carry on ripening in there. I think that's a sensible thing to do. And there's another sensible thing to do, which I'm going to show you now. You may remember I put these Taunton Dean perennial kale in. These maybe about 3 weeks, a month ago. And what I realised now that this cardoon is coming on is that this one and potentially this one are sort of in the wrong place. I left this Aquilegia in. I'm going to dig that out, but even though this one here has clearly taken in the 3 weeks or 4 weeks since I put it in, I'm going to move it. It is more sensible for me to move this now whilst the ground is still warm and it has a good month or so to take than in, let's say, two months time. I think I'm mulling whether I move this one back, but I don't think I will for the time being. But what I am going to do is take that one out now and move it to here. Yeah, so that means I'm going to take the Aquilegia out, move that perennial kale from where it is at the moment to this corner. Well, this corner-ish. Yeah, that's a sensible thing to do, because this cardoon, I can sort of, it's a bit further away from this perennial kale, so I can put a brace in, not a brace, a thing to sort of hold those leaves of the cardoon back. But I just think this one's too close, and because we also thought that the cardoon is allelopathic in that it puts out something in the soil to inhibit growth, it's most probably sensible to move this one over to here. So yeah, let me get on and do that. I did exactly what I did a few weeks ago when I moved it from this bed over here to this place. I used a spade, dug around it, and in fact the root ball was really lovely and intact like it was when I moved it 3 or 4 weeks ago. Put it in here and I think it will be very happy there. You can see I've potted on the Aquilegia down here. And then when I'd done that, I looked back and I thought, you know what, move that middle one a little bit back as well. So that's exactly what I've done. And certainly when my hand was in the soil, I mean, it was in gloves, but it was in the soil, you can feel the warmth of the soil there. So I'm really glad I've done this now. It's the sensible time to do it, because it will allow it to put on some growth in a decent fashion and get that root ball embedded really nicely and get the roots out into the soil, so that when we have stronger winds over the winter months, it's rock steady. So yeah, and yeah, really pleased about that. And of course, what does it need now? In fact, all 3 of them are going to get this: a good watering. I forgot to press record on the first watering that these 2 had, well, these 3 in fact. So yeah, this was a second watering, which was about 15 minutes before the first watering that I talked about half a minute ago. A few small jobs done today. It's Tuesday afternoon for this first segment of a week at the plot. I have just paid our rental. In fact, I did it last week. We received our invoices for our plots from the charity last Thursday, I think it was, or Friday. and our rental here is it's £190 for a whole plot. So I have a whole plot, so that's £190, plus there's a £10 maintenance fee, and that £10, where the £190 goes to the charity for their works, the £10 comes to the association for maintenance things that we need to do on site, like buying new tools, having the mower serviced. I was going to say something else, I've forgotten there. Buying new tools, mower serviced, fuel for the mower, and also in our kitty we have some money which is now set aside to put charging on site here as well, solar charging. So that's grand, so that's good. So I paid my money up last week, so that's for the whole year. Again, it's the same as my growing year, October through to September. And on my growing year, you may have already seen, I've uploaded how my last growing year did, October 24 to September 25. If you haven't watched that yet, please do have a look at that, because I thought it was quite good. It was quite rambling it was quite fast, but not too rambling, but a little bit rambling. And now I'm rambling. There we are. Oh, I can never not do it, can I? No, I can't. Yeah, so that video is up, so that's great. What else am I going to do? I've just picked some quince, so I'm going to be taking those home. They're looking really gorgeous. I'm just going to be pottering for another hour or so. That's what I'm going to be doing. There's a few things that have died in pots, so those can go into the compost. I need to turn one of our compost bins, though there are slow worms in there, so I need to be really, really careful. Maybe today, because of various things, nothing bad, but I don't think I will do it today. I think I'll do that another day. Yeah, bits and pieces to do round and about the plot, so I'm going to get on and do those. And there's also a little bit of watering to do as well. It feels quite dry again after rains last week. It's beginning to feel quite dry, so I think a few of the things on the bench need watering, so I'll get on and do those as well. And sorry about the flaring. My phone camera does tend to flare. I think it's because here the roof is see-through plastic. It's corrugated plastic, so the light levels with the door open, with the light coming through the roof, with my radiancy coming off my face, of course, and sometimes with the sun coming through the slats, it flares a bit, but I hope you'll forgive me for that. Can't afford to get an itsy bitsy fabulous camera to do these. So you'll just have to make do, really, like I do. Anyway, rambling. I am going to go with my cucumber and with a fellow plotter's uchiki curry, the uchiki curry they gave me. It is actually from one of my plants I gave them, but whilst mine didn't really reach more than the size of a slightly deflated football, this one's as big as my head. Oh, isn't that a thing of beauty? Isn't that a thing of beauty? And I've also given him he's given me a butternut as well. There we are. Look at that. There you go. Now, the story about these, I think I've said these. I'm not going to ramble on. But basically, these are from plants I gave him. So it just shows you how his several decades of management of the soil is something for me to aspire to. Absolutely. Right, I'm going to go before I ramble and waffle. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. I've just harvested our marjoram. It grows there each year and it's a bit of a pain because it gets in the way, and each year I think, shall I dig it out and move it? We've got plenty of self-seeded marjoram. I could also split it and share it and put it somewhere else. But you know what, in the summer months the honeybees and butterflies and things are on it and so love it that even though it's in the way, I'm gonna leave it there. So yeah, I will enjoy the flowers and enjoy the bees and enjoy other pollinators on it next year, just like I have done for the past, I don't know, 6 years, something like that, 5 years. Yeah, I can never quite remember whether it's, I think it must be 6 years. And then I decided to harvest our main crop potatoes behind me, in the bed behind me, which, as I said in a recent video, in fact my roundup of the year, the growing year for me, October through to September, I was hoping for some sort of decent harvest, but I haven't given them enough water. I did have one of my big baskets, I can't quite reach it, to cope with the harvest from that bed. But in the end it wasn't really necessary, because this is what has come out. Oh, I turned over half the bed behind me, and what I think has happened is, I don't think the Cara, no they weren't, they were Sarpo Mira, I don't think they grew that well because I didn't water them enough, and some have decided to regrow. So what I've decided, oh, there's a peregrine falcon. What I've decided is that I'm going to leave them in for Christmas, because if I have some potatoes like that for Christmas, I'll be relatively happy. So I'm leaving half of the bed of potatoes there till Christmas, and we'll see. I'll most probably fleece them should we get sort of a heavy frost. But yeah, I'm not. My dad was excellent at growing potatoes and radish. Potatoes and radish are sort of my bête noire, particularly main crop potatoes. I never do very well with main crop potatoes. Early potatoes are usually okay, and I get by with them. And this year, or year just gone, you know, exactly the same. They were pretty decent and enormously tasty. So next year I'm not going to do main crop. You know, with where we are anyway, possibly with the house going on the market in the springtime, might not be here for main crop potatoes. I'm actually going to use that as my excuse for not doing main crop potatoes. Really, it's because I just can't grow them. I can't. I think I do need to go back to trenches with my main crop potatoes, rather than the holes that I do in the ground. I know other people do very well with, you know, dibbing a hole and putting a potato in for their main crop potatoes. Not me. But anyway, a fellow plotter and I were having a laugh about it because I had my grey crates, those broccoli crates that I got a couple of months ago, ready for, you know, a decent harvest of potatoes. Oh dearie me. But there we are. That's the joy of growing, gardening and allotmenteering, isn't it? You really don't know. And I can see from here the turnips. I can see the turnips bulking up. From here I can see there's several that will be ready for harvesting in a couple of weeks time. So there we are. I don't have any, well, I have very few potatoes, but we will have turnips in a few weeks time, and we have plenty of beetroot, and we're very fortunate. And we're, you know, I'm sitting here on a glorious afternoon, an autumn afternoon. It's really quite warm, despite me having several layers on. It's really quite warm. The sun is trying to break through the clouds. It will do in a minute because I can see a big gap. And I'm in West London, yeah, but hustle and bustle is literally 300 yards up the road, and here we are in this tranquil, peaceful, gorgeous place where the sun just suddenly shines on you. It means that you can't actually do anything to camera anymore because it's getting too bright. But anyway, my plotter was my fellow plotter sort of said, "Oh, I know something that will cheer you up." Not that I needed cheering up. I thought it was quite funny about the potatoes. Um, we went away, came back. Thank you very much, fellow plotter. Thank you very much. Right, I am going to go because, as you can see, it's really, really sunny now, and I'm going to sit here, sup my pint, and cherish my huge harvest of potatoes. See you very soon. Bye. Gosh, it's so bright. I need my sunglasses. Oh, they're there. Look. Oh, look. Look. Yay. That's better. Now I could waffle on for ages, but I'm not going to. See you very soon. Bye. Good day. I just came around the corner and thought, hang on, what's missing in this bed? But of course it's the marjoram that I harvested the other day that is missing. The dazzling blue kale is under here and is doing relatively well, and I think we'll be having our first picking from the lettuce under here shortly. In fact, I'm going to take the nets off that and give it a weed today, but everything is really dry. It needs a water and a weed. More tomatoes, a few more tomatoes to harvest there, and I've noticed at the top there's quite a few to harvest as well. But anyway, I've noticed something in the greenhouse too, where I left our broad beans. Gosh, the smell in here is fabulous from those quince. They'll be going home with me tomorrow. Yeah, here, a bit of germination. It's the only one so far. I did decide to leave them in here rather than put them into the poly, because when I was in the poly the other day there was a mouse in there quite happily looking at me, getting on with what I was doing, and it was just sitting there on its back legs like a sort of Disney mouse, looking at me and wondering what I was doing. And I'm going to do something else in the poly now. A little bit of seed sowing. I've got some multi-purpose compost in here which I have sieved. Don't normally sieve it, but I felt like sieving the multi-purpose compost, so I have done. And then I've got to open this. I've used this before, but I remember it was, I think the thing got stuck in here. Yeah, it's coming to me now. This is Marvel Four Seasons from a really decent company that has this as a ancestry seed, but it was really difficult to get out of the packet because it's sort of stuck in there. I haven't got very many of these. How many have I actually got? I've only got 5. Just gonna put them, I don't want that close to the edge. I'm not really too worried. Have I got any more in here? I thought I had one more. No, I thought I had one more. And then these are Arctic King, and these are pretty old seeds. You'll see these because they're white. I've just promised that if some of these come up, they will go to fellow plotters. I don't want too many, but I think I've got plenty there. Let me put these back in. Just going to use that to tamp them down a little, make sure there's no seeds on the bottom, and then thin layer on top. Pat that with my hands initially, and then tamp down that way. Take my scissors out the way, and of course the obligatory water. I'll give those a water again in about sort of 10 minutes. So I know that this packet, I've got a packet here which is dead, so I'm going to take that home, put it into... No! The seeds have come out of the packet. They're in the packet. The seeds have come out of this packet and they're sitting in the bottom of this packet. So I'm going to keep those. Oh, never mind. Anyway, I sowed 5. And then there's plenty of seeds in this packet, which are Arctic King. Well, serves me right for not looking in that packet. I thought that was very few seeds when I opened it originally. It did say 150 seeds, but I thought I'd been done, but I haven't been. Anyway, there we are. That's Marvel of 4 Seasons, 5 sown this side, and Arctic King sowed this side. So hopefully some of these will germinate. This Arctic King seed is a bit old, so we will have to wait and see. Some winter lettuce sown, albeit just 5 seeds of Marvel of 4 Seasons, but I've learnt something now. Always check the outside seed packet. And quite a few Arctic King, which are like Winter King. I hope that they will germinate well, and if they do, some of those are already allotted for fellow plotters, 2 fellow plotters here who I was talking to on the way here about the seeds I was going to sow. So yeah, they are there. Now, if they do not produce for us, which I think is unlikely, this side of the new year, they hopefully will get going when things start warming up on the other side of the new year. I think some of the ones I've got are going to be going into, in fact, yes, some of them are going to be going into troughs in our greenhouse, because if I can keep a little harvest of them going over the winter, that would be really, really grand. So I'm going to do that. And next week, our cucumbers that we have in the greenhouse, the Ladiva F1, there's only one more there to pick now. So once I pick that one, those are going to be going into our compost bin, which will mean that that trough will be free to plant up. And what I think I will do is I will just put some nutrients into that compost. I'll take the compost out completely, put it into a wheelbarrow, break it up, put some nutrients back into it and a bit of fresh compost into it, and I will use that for lettuce that we already have, and the lettuce that I hope is going to germinate from what I've just put in today. So yeah, that's really, really grand. And the other day, when was it? Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. It's Saturday afternoon now. I wasn't down here on Thursday and I wasn't down here on Friday. So it's Saturday afternoon now. It's the first time I've been down here in 3 days. Really feels quite odd, but I've been really busy with other things. But on Wednesday, I did crack on and start weeding. In fact, weeded the chard bed because the chard bed really needed weeding. So I got on and I weeded that. And any of the spent leaves from the chard that had gone over already that I wouldn't be picking, I took those off, because you don't want decaying leaves in the bed because it will only encourage slugs and snails. So I gave that a good weeding, and in editing I noticed that the soft fruit bed that I am going to be keeping, that's also got some grass in, so I'm going to be weeding that as well. It's a really gorgeous sunny day, and there's quite a few people down here. I've got my plot neighbour here, I've got plot neighbour over there, plot neighbour here, plot neighbour there. So it's really nice. There's been quite a lot of chatting going on. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to carry on pottering around the plot. There are a few pots that have got things growing in them that are going to be going in the ground. There's a couple of things that are going to be going to other people. So I'm just going to be pottering and tidying and doing maybe another hour, hour and a half. It's about 3:30 now. I'll most probably go home about 5:30. And then, of course, it will be time to start putting this footage onto the other footage and editing it together for this week's upload on YouTube. So yeah, that's grand. And out now is my growing year, October 24 to September 25. So please do watch that if you haven't done so already. But yeah, that's it for me. Thank you to all the people who leave comments and questions and suggest things in the past and who may do on this video. It really is appreciated, and you watching is really appreciated, and hopefully you'll watch one or two ads, at least 30 seconds of one or two ads, and that will help us as well. Yeah, so that is it. I did bring down my padded body warmer with a hood. Not going to need it today. So yeah, it's really quite warm. One of the fellow plotters said that she had been doing some digging and was so warm that she'd given up on the digging, was doing some seed sowing. That's the person I'm going to ask about the white valerian, whether I should be sowing that. Did I say that? I can't remember if I said that. Anyway, if I did mention the white valerian, that's great. If I didn't, never mind. If you're watching this for the first time and you've got to this point, please do subscribe. It would be really great for you to do that, and give us a thumbs up if you have liked this video, please, because that all helps the metrics too. And I am going to say goodbye now and not waffle on. I will see you on Planet Vegetaria for further segments of a week at the plot as we go through next week. Obviously on YouTube there'll be another full upload in a week's time of what I do next week on the plot, and hopefully you will enjoy watching that. As I've said previously, comments, questions, suggestions, please do leave them down below. And whatever you are doing in your garden, your growing space, or your allotment, I hope you're just getting time to sit down, look at what you've done, look at what you've achieved, and smile. And if you feel that you haven't achieved something that you wanted to achieve, how can you do it again to better achieve it next time? Have a think about that. I will see you very soon, and happy growing. Bye.
Still some good tomatoes, yeah?
Yeah. I think
Get a good year for tomatoes.
Yeah. That one's gone a bit, but I really like the yellow that
So
you gave me.
sweet, nah?
Yeah.
They were really sweet.
Still got several up there.
Yeah. They're not big, but they're quite sweet.
No, but they're nice. And I've got a couple here as well.
Oh yeah.
And I found they were quite early, and they're still going now.
Still going.
You know, where some of the other earlies, the Amish pace and those